Patrick Mahomes is out, Saquon Barkley is back, and Jalen Ramsey is a Los Angeles Ram. We've got tons of news from around the NFL and some tips for your fantasy lineups. First off, Chris Hogan has been placed on injury reserve, so he will not be playing for the rest of the season. So if you had him, go ahead and drop him. John Ross III is out for a minimum of 8 weeks with a shoulder injury. I know he's been so good at the beginning of the season, but the Bengals' chances of taking him off of injury reserve that close to the end of the season are very low. His fantasy value will also be very low then, so I would recommend dropping him for the roster spot at this point. Also, ESPN Gostkowski, the Patriots kicker, will undergo season-ending hip surgery, so he will be out for the rest of the season. That's tough if you have ESPN Gostkowski, but go ahead and drop him. It is season-ending. So yeah, Mike Nugent, I believe, is going to be his replacement for the rest of the season. Because it is the Patriots, he does now have some fantasy value. Another huge injury, though, is Patrick Mahomes' injury. He will now be out for the next 3 weeks with his injury. He went for a quarterback sneak, and it did not go the way he had planned, and he goes down with an injury. So that is not good if you have Mahomes. Backups, though, if you do have Mahomes or any other quarterback that is currently out or on a bye week, a player I would look for is Kirk Cousins of the Minnesota Vikings, scoring over 300 passing yards in his past 3 games. He also has had a total of 10 touchdowns over those games. Kirk Cousins is currently available in 38% of fantasy leagues, so that is an awesome waiver wire pickup if you have him. Speaking of quarterbacks, Drew Brees has a chance of coming back this week. He will either come back this week or in 2 weeks because the Saints have a bye week in 2 weeks, so he will come back after that if he does not come back this week, so we will see what happens with that. Teddy Bridgewater, this could be his last potential fantasy start. We don't know yet whether or not Drew Brees will play. So yeah, that is that. Another backup quarterback I would look at if you need one is Gardner Minshew. He's available in 48% of fantasy leagues, but he has been amazing for the Jaguars this year so far. So if Gardner Minshew or Kirk Cousins is available, those are both viable backups right now. Some more news we have. Jalen Ramsey, the cornerback for the Jacksonville Jaguars, has been traded to the Los Angeles Rams for first-round picks in 2020, 2021, and a fourth-round pick in 2021 as well. So that is going to hurt your Jacksonville Jaguars defense, considering that Jalen Ramsey is the #1 ranked cornerback in the NFL. So if you have the Jaguars defense, that's going to hurt him a little bit. But if you have the Rams defense, that is a huge upgrade since Aqib Talib went down with that injury, and Jalen Ramsey is going to go in there and completely turn around their defense. He will make a huge impact for the Rams, so their fantasy value has increased if you have them. Alright, now I'm going to go over my top waiver wire ads for the week. Alright, so my quarterback pickup for the week is Kirk Cousins, available in 70% of leagues almost. I already mentioned that. My running back pickup of the week is Jamal Williams, the running back for the Green Bay Packers. Jamal Williams scored 13.1 fantasy points last week. He only had 3 attempts, but he has been heavily involved in the Packers passing game with no Devontae Adams right now. He is a great running back pickup and a flex consideration for me at least. So that's a good waiver wire pickup if you're looking for a running back. If you're looking for a wide receiver at this point, a player you can look at is Corey Davis with 6 receptions for over 100 yards. Corey Davis is bouncing back. He is available in just under 60% of fantasy leagues. If you can pick him up, I would consider him for a flex play with his new quarterback, Blaine Gabbert, under center. Now, one name I would like specifically to stay away from, though, on the waiver wire is Dallas Goedert. With 69 yards and a touchdown last week, he is still only tight end 34 on the season. So if you're in desperate need of or want a backup tight end, Dallas Goedert is an option, but I would not start him this week. Alright, there's a new thing I want to start doing on my channel. It's called Buy Low and Sell High. So this is a new segment I would like to add, where I will tell you players that you can buy low and sell high, exactly what it sounds like. So players that did really bad this week that you can buy for really low, or players that did really good this week and will not do that good again that you can sell high for some better players. One player that I would look at buying low right now is the Denver Broncos' Phillip Lindsay. He is running back 11 on the season, but only had 4.2 fantasy points last week. He is a player you could go for right now. It may not look it right now, but Phillip Lindsay will bounce back with that run-first offense in Denver. My second running back by low is going to have to be Melvin Gordon of the Los Angeles Chargers. He had 16 attempts for only 32 yards, but he did also have a receiving touchdown, but he also had a fumble, so that hurt his fantasy points. You can get him for lower than what he will be later on in the season. He was playing at a extremely difficult Tennessee Titans defense. Just coming back from his injury, Melvin Gordon should see increased fantasy points over the next couple of weeks. My two buy low receivers are going to have to be Kenny Golladay with only one reception in his game. Kenny Golladay has been exceptional this season. He will bounce back from that. And my second buy low receiver is going to be Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd, his past 2 games, has had 3 receptions and 5 receptions for a combined 12.5 fantasy points. That is not very good, but Tyler Boyd, let's not forget, after both of those weeks, he's still wide receiver 17 on the season. Tyler Boyd is the Bengals' #1 wide receiver. AJ Green will be coming back soon, but that will not hurt Tyler Boyd's fantasy value. It will only increase it. So Tyler Boyd, a viable buy low candidate. Alright, now I'm going to move on to my sell high candidates. I've got a couple of those for this week. A player I'm selling high on this week, though, is Marvin Jones Jr. 10 receptions, 93 yards, 4 touchdowns. Marvin Jones Jr., there is no way you are going to repeat that for the entire rest of the season. Even after that 43.3 fantasy point game, Marvin Jones Jr. is still only wide receiver number 46 on the season. Marvin Jones Jr., an incredible sell high this week if you can get rid of him. My final sell high candidate is going to have to be Aaron Rodgers of the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers has not been the most consistent quarterback over the first couple of weeks this season. Aaron Rodgers has been quarterback number 12 on the season. He scored 6 touchdowns, 429 yards last week. It was against the Oakland Raiders, though, at home. So if you look at his upcoming schedule, his next couple of weeks, at Kansas City, not a terrible matchup. At Los Angeles Chargers, that's going to be a tough one. Home to Carolina, not a terrible matchup. At San Francisco, one of the top passing white defenses. At New York Giants. But then for the fantasy playoffs, you've got Washington, love that. But then to end the season, you've got Chicago, at Minnesota, and then at Detroit. So that is not a good upcoming schedule for him. If you can trade him for a top-tier quarterback at this point, for someone willing to trade you either a Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes type player, do that at this point. But yeah, anyway, hope this video was able to help you guys out with your fantasy teams. If I forgot to mention anything about fantasy, please leave it in the comments down below. I'll answer any questions you guys have about who to start, who to pick up, whatever you guys need to know. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys